Hey, I'm Jason Wood, the VA Loan Guy and host of the Armed and Ready podcast. Please come and check out this exciting episode we have for you. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Armed and Ready podcast. I'm your host, Jason Wood, the VA Loan Guy. Today, we have an awesome lineup for you. We have two veterans with us, Air Force veteran Eric Herman and Navy veteran Josh Himbert, and they run Veterans Top Flight Realty here in San Diego. So we're super pumped to have them with us today and learn a little bit about their story and see what they're up to, and maybe talk about the housing market, all that fun stuff. So, gents, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thanks
Got to start off by correcting you on the name. It's Top Flight Veterans Realty.
Oh, I got it mixed up. All right. Sorry about that.
But pretty close. We are veterans, so you had that in there, so that's good.
Okay, well, close enough. Been called worse, I'm sure, right?
This is very true. This is very true.
So one thing that's really unique and rare in the San Diego area is we got two Air Force guys and only one Navy dude, which, usually it's like a bunch of Navy Marine dudes, and if there's an Air Force guy, it's super rare. So
For sure.
This is a cool opportunity for us. Maybe we can leverage that a little bit.
Bring it.
But yeah, I want to just introduce your guys' story, right? You both joined the military and did your thing there. So tell us kind of like your why. Like, what was the motivation for you to join the military, and then tell us kind of what you did and how long you served and stuff.
I grew up in Huntington Beach, and I lived there for pretty much my whole life until I joined the military. And going through my teenage years and into my adulthood, I never even thought about joining the military. And then my mom was dating this guy at the time, and he was an officer in the Army. He flew helicopters, and I thought that was really cool. Started talking to him about that, and I was like, oh, maybe I can become a pilot in the Air Force or something,
Yeah.
And, things started getting crazy with some of my friends. A lot of them were getting locked up and, doing drugs and, I had a couple friends that actually overdosed on drugs because they were, partying too much. And, you think Huntington Beach is a nice place to live. You don't think that stuff ever happens, but, you do have a lot of, things like that going on. And so I was like, all right, well, this is a good opportunity. I should, probably look into this. I should probably get some structure in my life. Get out of this, maybe figure out something to do with my life as opposed to ending up in jail or, doing drugs to, hang out with the people that I'm hanging out with.
Right.
And so I went down to the recruiter's office and I signed up for enlisted because I didn't have my bachelor's degree at the time. I had to find out the hard way that you have to have a bachelor's degree to actually become a pilot in the Air Force.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, I'll get enlisted. I'll get my bachelor's degree while I'm in. I'll become a pilot, that way. So I'm in the DEP program, delayed entry program. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. And I was in there for 8 months, 9 months, getting ready to leave. I don't know, 2 months later. And they come back and tell me that they're going to have to hold me out from joining. Because they didn't tell me why at the time. They just said, hey, we're going to have to hold you out. You're going to have to come back in, a couple months and try again. And waited a couple months, came back, finally got, into the program again, and ended up leaving it. It was a whole, a year and a half, almost 2 year process to finally join.
Wow.
I didn't find out until I got back why I got booted from the delayed entry program the first time around. It was because there weren't enough minorities going through that recruiter. So she needed to hit her quota.
Oh my gosh.
So I was, one of the white guys. I hate to say it, but I was one of the guys that had to get booted because I wasn't a minority at the time.
That's so dumb. Like here's a ready, willing, able young man wanting to join the military, and it's like, oh well, skin color is a problem, so you can't make you an airman.
Yeah, which is funny because they're all about inclusiveness and getting everybody in that wants to join, and I don't know. I thought it was funny at the time. It made for a good experience because if I would have joined a year earlier, who knows where I would be at in life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everything happens for a reason. So I'm not upset about it whatsoever. It was just like a weird thing that happened that it wasn't just me either. It was like a couple other guys that scored well on their ASVABs that got booted from it and told to come back basically.
Right. Oh, that's crazy. It would have made more sense if the ASVAB scores were terrible, right?
Right.
And it's
exactly.
Hey, retake this and get it up, dude.
Yeah.
But and then they didn't tell you till after.
No, I didn't find out until I came back for recruiter's assistance program, after tech school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because she's like, I couldn't tell you. She's like, we're not allowed to. She's like, I was like, I just wanted to know, like, why did I get booted in the first place? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. And she's like, no, you didn't, honestly. She's like, I wanted to send you through, but my higher ups said I had to get more minorities through that go around. And
Dang,
yeah.
that's nuts. So what was your AFSC?
So I was civil engineer.
Okay.
So 3E6.
Nice.
And I was basically an operations manager, operations engineering for civil engineering squadron.
Okay. Where was your tech school at?
It was in Wichita Falls, Texas. So like the armpit of Texas, right next to Oklahoma.
Oh man, that sounds fun. Yeah. My tech school was in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay, nice.
During July and August. So yeah, that was a new introduction to humidity and heat I'd never had before. It was awful, man. 100% humidity, 100 degrees outside, and you're a student, so you can't roll your sleeves up. Like you're just sweating like you've never imagined. It's crazy. So Josh, tell us a little bit about how you got in.
Basically, when it came down to me joining, I had a really rough upbringing. My parents were, constantly moving, going through crazy situations, which ultimately led to a divorce. And I ended up getting a DUI when I was 18. Oh, wow. So that's when I dropped out of college, trying to figure out what to do. And honestly, I wanted to escape the drama. Plus, I had, my grandpa and a few other family members serving in the Navy or have served in the Navy.
Yeah.
So I wanted to keep that prestige going, One day I was hanging out with my friend. We were doing a little bit of funny business. And he just sits there and looks over Corona, because this is where I grew up.
Okay.
Corona, California. And he says, I'm going to join the Navy. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Adam Porras. He's a chief in the Navy now.
Oh, right on.
Crazy. And he says, I'm going to join the Navy. And I'm just sitting there looking at him like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So a week goes by, and I think, it's just like high talk or something.
Right.
So he comes by and he knocks on my door about 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, dude, I'm joining the Navy. And I said, you said that last week. Like, let's go do something else,
Right.
And then the very next day, I go to the recruiter's office and start learning about it. I do my little practice ASVAB, and they say, wow, you're really, good at electronics and things like that. And I said, oh, I never thought about it, So I went to, the recruiters. And then pretty much from there, 30 days later, I was gone. And
wow,
that was it.
That's quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I was super stoked to get out, honestly. Young, confused, like a lot of people, I'm sure, that have joined the military. Best thing I ever did, though. Hands down. Yeah, I'm so glad I did it.
Where was your basic and your school after?
So basic was in Great Lakes.
Okay.
That was fun. It was a nice little change. Went during like winter time, so that was like Southern California to that. I'm like, I'm making a big mistake. But I went there, and then basically A school was in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
And then Pensacola flooded out, and that's where our C school was supposed to be.
Okay.
And then we ended up going to Jacksonville.
Oh, nice.
From Jacksonville, I pretty much came back to San Diego. Another depressing point. I was going through a horrible divorce, and I had Florida orders for HS-15, and I ended up swapping them with another guy for San Diego so I could kind of get back and try to save my marriage.
Right.
Unfortunately, it didn't work, but I was able to get to HS-10, which is a training squadron. And then from there, I went to HSL-49, which was really cool because I finally got to go on deployment.
Nice.
And then after that, I just needed more out of myself. And not saying the military doesn't give that opportunity, but I just felt like I could do bigger things and decided to pull the ripcord.
How long did you guys serve for?
I did 6.
You did 6?
About 5.
5?
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. And so I get that, like wanting like more, like just not really all the way fulfilled, right?
Exactly.
So what was, did you have like a plan or a thought, like what you wanted to do next? Or were you just kind of like, I don't know.
I like photography and videography. So that was like the first thing I wanted to do.
Okay.
The pivotal moment to me that made me feel like getting out was going to be a good idea. Unfortunately, I had a first class on the boat that was my CPO or LCPO. And he basically told me, hey, you need to re-sign. And this is on the boat during deployment. He said, you got to re-sign for 3 years or you need to get out. So he starts talking to me about everything going on. And of course, I'm going through that rough period.
Right.
And he says, you need to resign because I guarantee you, if you get out, you'll be back. And something it struck me right there. And I was like, kind of, offended. Like, who are you? Like, I'm not coming back. So that to me, like, kind of pushed me forward.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't bad on him because his experience was that he got out and then came back in because he was, lost and whatnot. But
Gotcha.
I didn't like that he was pressing his experience onto me. So it just lit a fire under my ass to get out there and really like do something bigger.
That's pretty cool. Eric, how about you?
How about me?
Yeah. Like your transition, like what was like the trigger for you to be like, okay, I think I'm hanging it up.
To get out. So I didn't like the way the leadership was going. So I served overseas my whole career. So I was in Germany for 2 years at Ramstein, and then I went to Korea. I was there for a year, and then Okinawa, Japan. And my last couple of years were kind of I don't know. I felt like the rules were just getting tighter, and that the restrictions were just getting worse and worse. And by the time I got to Korea, I was already 25 years old, and I just felt like we were being treated like children. So I don't know if you're familiar, if you remember this in Korea, but they have a curfew over there. So you have to be back on base at 1 a.m. every single day, no matter what. If you're off base after 1 a.m., you get hit with like hardcore punishment. Like you could lose a stripe, basically. You get, letter reprimand, things like that. And that went on for a year while I was in Korea. And I got to Japan, and some Navy guys, some Navy and Marine guys, they actually like got in some big trouble over in Japan. And I think like one of them honestly like raped a girl or something.
Oh, wow.
And then there was a couple DUIs that happened on the island, and so they got put on even harder restriction. Like I think like 10 a.m. you had to be back, or 10 p.m. you had to be back in your house.
Jeez.
And so you couldn't drink off base or anything either. Like if you were out, you had to be with a military buddy at the same time. Like otherwise, you were going to be in trouble. So the only place you can go to by yourself was work and home. If you wanted to go out on town, you had to have somebody with you at all times.
Wow.
And that went on for the first year and a half I was over there, and I was just getting drained. I'm like, dude, I'm 20. I was like 27 or something by the time they finally ended all that stuff, and I'm just like, this is getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I'm an adult here, and I'm getting treated like a child. Like I can't even do what I want to do. I can't do anything. Like, and leadership just kept getting more strict, and finally my time came up where it was like either get orders or I get out, and I came up on the 6-year contract. And it was tough because I had Italy on my dream sheet, and I'd always wanted to get stationed in Italy.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, maybe I should do it, maybe I shouldn't. And I started talking to Josh, who had been out for a couple of years prior to me. I think you were out for like 4 years already at that point or something.
You got out,
yeah. So I was talking to Josh about it, and I'm like, dude, I'm thinking about getting out. Like we should do something. So we started talking about like creating a business. We wanted to do something. We just couldn't pinpoint it. Finally, we're like, all right, well, let's create a clothing brand.
Yeah, I think we started on like protein shakes and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were gonna make supplements and a clothing brand because I was into bodybuilding at the time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'd done a couple shows while I was over there in Japan, and I was walking around at like 4% body fat. So I'm like, let's do it. Come on, let's do something.
That's cool. That was your life at the time. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I said, screw it, got out, and went to school. We tried to create this supplement line. We realized that we weren't going to make any profit off of it because to make the supplement, like the pre-workout, it was going to be like, with all the stuff we wanted, it was like $50 or $60. And I'm like, we can't charge somebody $80 for this little tin of like supplements. Like that doesn't make any sense. We're going to be losing money for the first couple of years until we can get the product down. And one thing clicked, and we're just like, all right, well, let's figure something else out.
Nice. So you guys knew each other then before?
We did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was doing the photography and videography after the Navy, I was doing events and stuff like that, like raves up in LA and everything. And I actually was hanging out with his friends that I didn't know that knew him. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So I was hanging out with them, and then he shows up, and it was like, oh, cool, like a military guy to talk to. And we just started talking back and forth, and no offense to our friends or anything, but like they were on a different level, and we were kind of focused on how do we, take the next step in life to like start, pushing ourselves and being successful. And he started talking business, and I think he honestly introduced me to like stocks. I never looked into stocks before. And I'm like, this guy's on it, dude. He's like 26, just like my stocks and my portfolio. And I'm like, dang, dude, okay, this is someone I need to vibe with. And y'all start talking. And it's pretty much how it developed. I think we started, oh no, you came to Huntington.
Yeah, so I went home for leave a bunch of times, and I came back to Huntington, and like I said, he met my friends, he became friends with them. So whenever I'd come home, Josh was always there as well, and so we hung out all the time. I came home on leave, I don't know, like 5 times while I was in the military, and so every time we would hang out, and we just started talking because I was telling him like, hey, I'm thinking about getting out. Like, can you like walk me through the process for, the disability stuff and just getting out and like what I do with the VA loan or what I do with GI Bill and all this stuff. And he was he had gone through all of it, so he was there like to talk me through the whole process and everything. Kind of made it easier on me.
Yeah.
And so once I started talking to him about that, that's when we started talking about the whole business thing, because we both wanted to do something when we got out.
Yeah. Well, and that whole getting out thing and like getting your rating and all that stuff, that's kind of gray area, right? Like,
and
it's not super simple.
Yeah. And no one, I mean, unless you have someone that went through it, it's very hard to go and find advice. I mean, because you know how it is. Like, you're going to talk to these VA doctors and everything. They're not going to tell you what you need to know.
Yeah.
Right.
You need a C lawyer is what we call it.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's really cool. So you guys started brainstorming. Did real estate, was that kind of the next venture after the supplement and clothing line thing, or?
Yeah. So basically, I was going to school when I got out. I was using the GI Bill.
Cool.
Because I didn't know what to do. I was just like, I might as well finish my degree. I got the GI Bill. They're going to pay me the BAH, while I go to school, and that way I can, get something done and I can figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
And Josh had been thinking about real estate. I don't know exactly where the thought came from in his head, but my dad was actually buying a house at the time when I got out.
Okay.
And so I started talking to his realtor. I don't know, just like, talking to him, spitballing, talking about what I was doing with my life basically. And he was like, you'd be really good at real estate. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. I kept pushing it off, and started talking to Josh about it. And he's like, yeah, actually I was thinking about getting into real estate too. And so we both were like, all right, well, let's just do it. Let's go take the classes, do what we need to do, get the license. And so we both started doing it, taking the class. I think it took us like a couple months or something to finish all the classes and get the licensing stuff knocked out. And at the time, this dude was with Keller Williams.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody out there is familiar with them, but
one
of the bigger
someone's
real
heard of them, I'm
estate,
sure.
one of the bigger real estate brands out there. And we started going into the office on a regular basis, and one thing led to another, and we're like, all right, well, let's do this together. That way, it makes it easier. We don't have to, kind of do it on our own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the real estate thing started.
That's cool. Now, you guys obviously, kind of how I have also have niched yourself into the military market, right?
Oh,
for sure.
Top Flight Veterans Realty.
Yeah.
Tell me, and I'm happy to share like my thought process on why I did it, but tell me what your guys' thought process is. Like, when did that kind of aha moment hit you guys? Because obviously real estate at Keller Williams was still brand new, but I imagine this kind of took form after that, right?
For sure. I think we only lasted at Keller Williams for like 4 or 5 months before we felt like we were drinking the Kool-Aid kind of per se.
Yeah.
Kind of felt, I don't know, a little too much after the military. Like we didn't need all of the structure and the rules that they were trying to provide. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's when we found Big Block Realty, who we're still with to this day.
Yeah.
They felt like they were a little bit more tech forward and a little bit more our style, a little bit younger of a crew kind of thing.
Yeah. Sam's put together a good operation.
Yeah. They're good people over there.
Yeah. I think for me it was when you were getting out and we started talking about doing real estate. I had just bought a house because I was still on a W-2 job.
Yeah.
And my realtor wasn't as awesome as I would think. Of course, I didn't have experience with realtors or like buying a house, but it just rubbed me the wrong way that he had worked the whole thing. I kind of got trapped in doing some upgrades very quickly to the house that I wish I didn't. And on top of that, I started realizing after using that GI Bill, do some math and just add up how much money, just BAH, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I started hearing people say, what's a VA loan? GI Bill, like, oh, you're going to use that stupid thing? And I'm just sitting here going, dude, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. and these veterans are not taking advantage of it. So for me, and that's what we talked about, was like, yes, we could go and try to get into the luxury market and do everything that everyone else is doing to make, millions of dollars. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you're focused on the money, you're not focused on the client. And
1,000%. Yeah.
if we're not, like you said, we used our GI Bill, we used our VA loans, and it's brought us to a great place in life. And it's very frustrating to see, I guess, service members and veterans, not taking advantage of those benefits because they think it's hard or something like that.
Yeah, no, I've seen that, or they feel like they don't need it.
Right.
Like, I can just do it on my own. Like let somebody else who needs it, get disability,
Right.
Exactly.
or use the GI Bill or whatever. But it's kind of selfish thinking in a way, because this money is allocated annually.
Right.
Exactly.
Like there's this big, huge pot of money.
Yeah.
All you're doing is saying, yeah, I'll take a little, because it's earmarked for you.
Exactly.
Right. And so if you're not taking it, it's not getting used. It's not like they're going, okay, well, Josh didn't use it, so we're going to give the extra to Eric. Like, that's not how it works. It's just like, oh, it didn't get used. And in typical government fashion, it's like, okay, well, we'll just take it back.
Yeah.
And then next year, you don't need as much, clearly, for
Changes
that
the budget
program,
and
because you
everything,
didn't use it all. So we'll shrink the budget. And that's how government works. But people they don't know that.
No.
So they don't understand it, right?
Yeah.
And disability, GI Bill, all kind of fall into that same kind of path, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to touch on what Josh was also talking about, so as I'm sure you're aware, there's a bunch of people out there trying to target veterans because they think that it's a huge market out here in San Diego.
Sure.
And so they try to niche down to a field that they have no idea about.
Yeah.
And we see this all time and time again where we see veterans getting taken advantage of because, they see these people that are prompting themselves as, VA loan specialists or military, specialists, and they have no background whatsoever in the military, and they haven't even educated themselves about, the VA loan or anything having to do with the product.
Yeah.
And so, I all the time, like I see these veterans, like where they get these contracts, they'll come to me like us afterwards, and they'll be like, yeah, we had to pay, them a commission to buy this house, where the VA loan, the VA stipulates that you can't pay a commission to the realtor if you're buying a house.
Right.
And it states that in the actual VA handbook, but yet they get taken advantage of time and time again. And they had add in little admin fees of like a couple $1,000s
or TCs. Like
TC
we've seen
fees.
other realtors with using VA clients, and they would charge their TC fee to the client and stuff.
Mhm.
So me and Eric thinking about how much realtors make, it's like, really? Like they're
You need an extra $500
they're
that bad?
exactly.
They're sacrificing so much right now being away and all the burden of the military, and you can't front that for them. Like it just kills me.
I know. Well, it's horrible because, and I think a lot of military folks get caught in that kind of shiny object syndrome,
Oh,
right?
For sure.
Yep.
It's like, people make it seem like, ooh, this is the thing, right? But the typical thing I always see is that crappy used car lot outside of a base, right?
Yeah. And it says E1 and up.
Yeah. And then they make financing your wheels really attractive and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And so, on the loan side, we go to pull credit and it's like, well, yeah, I love my truck, but the truck is $900 a month in payment. It's like crazy. And I'm like, what happened? Oh, well, it was too good to be true. But they fall into that too. And we all fall into that kind of stuff at some point.
sure.
But,
Oh, yeah.
it's harder for military because they're not exposed to the civilian stuff.
Exactly.
So it's just they just kind of take it at face value. Oh, okay, must be good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That realtor must be good, or that lender or whatever must be good because I saw their ad on such and such.
Exactly. Yeah, Jimmy got this Camaro over here financed at 25%, so that must be a
what
good
a
deal.
steal.
Yeah, great deal. Yeah. So Josh, tell me a little bit so your home buy. I've heard this from other people before too, right? Part of the motivation was they had a real estate experience that wasn't good. So, what does that mean? The feelings and the way that first transaction went for you. Tell us a little bit about any specifics that took place, so people can kind of get an idea of oh, okay, that's not the right thing, right? That's not good.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that turned me off with my realtor was the selling aspect. Realtors can do two different things in a transaction. They could just sell, and then all the repercussions after that, who cares? We closed it. To me, we need to build relationships. And not only that, we need referrals. Like, we want to help more people out.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense to me to sell you something quick so I can make a quick dollar and, leave you with the problems with the house. And one of those that I didn't really think about is the roof. A roof is very expensive on a house. And I really, honestly, my realtor didn't look at those types of things. So a lot of things that me and Eric do is we actually go into a house and we start saying, look at that. No, that looks horrible. That's going to cost you 10 grand in 4 years. That, and a lot of people appreciate it because it makes us more human and we're not selling. Whereas maybe another agent might say, who doesn't care and wants to sell, they just say, oh, well, you can always fix that. You can always upgrade that. It's like, yeah, I don't want to. I'm buying a $500,000 house.
Right. Yeah.
So
the pockets aren't infinite,
yeah, not that deep.
right?
Exactly.
And that's the other thing that we experience too is like, not only just VA, but a lot of people in general don't have this huge amount of money in the bank to sit there and have to drop $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 into a house after they buy it.
Right.
So for me, if you're making a $500,000 investment, it's like I want to know everything. And yes, the inspector can tell you so much, but that realtor should be there to really tell you, hey, I've seen this happen. You should shy away from this.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's that experience and that advice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And just protecting
Yeah,
them.
but the home inspector's not an expert in every single field.
Exactly.
He's not a roofer. He's not a plumber. He's not an electrician. Like, he's looking at the codes. You know what I mean? Like, the code that's wrong with this house. Like, everything is up to code. Cool. But when was it up to code? You know what I mean? And what more should you be doing in this house? Like, we always recommend, like, to get a roofer out there if the roof is old. So if the roof is 20, 30 years old, you should get a roofer out there to make sure that it's, got some life left on it.
Totally.
Yeah.
If the house is 50 years old, you should probably get a sewer scope done to make sure that the plumbing's not falling apart from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And most people don't think about that. They're like, oh, I paid a home inspector, I should be good, right? Well, yeah, but they didn't check everything.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Underground.
Yeah. And I felt like on my first house, it had a pool
Yeah,
and had a home inspector. He was great.
yeah.
But at least I don't remember. Maybe someone did say something, but no one ever said anything like, hey, we should get someone, either the home inspector
Yeah.
themselves or a pool inspector,
Exactly.
just to check out the pool.
Right.
Right. And, because I had never owned a home with a pool before. So anyways, bought the house, and this pool had all sorts of issues, right?
Oh, man.
There was no heat element to it. All the piping where they used to have a heat element were all corroded and eroded. The pump didn't work, except for sorta. And we learned quickly that as they were putting this for sale, they're just dumping chlorine like crazy in there to keep it clear.
Course, yeah.
Right. And and the plaster was in bad shape. Like, there was just so many issues. Like, we dumped a bunch of money into that pool.
Yeah.
We actually never swam in it.
Oh,
We
no.
ended up selling the house after we got it all done because we were just
man.
there's still no heat element to it.
Yeah.
We're like, we're done.
See, that's something that your realtor could have helped you with as
Yeah.
well. They should have been like, hey, you got a pool here. You should probably get a pool inspection.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like,
It's a simple
Simple.
recommendation.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not done.
Right.
I mean, I had some clients that just bought a house, and we walked in, and I noticed, like, right off the bat that the pool looked like it, had some issues. And I was like, hey guys, you should probably get a pool inspector out here. Well, the plaster in the pool was done. Like, it was going to cost like 15, 20 grand to get, new plaster done on the pool. And if I hadn't told them that, they would have never got a home inspector out there to check the pool to see if they can get, that fixed or get a credit towards it. We ended up getting them like, $20,000 towards, repairs for the house. So they didn't have to come in with any closing costs. They had some money in the bank when they closed on the house, so they can do all these repairs.
Right.
And a lot of the times, like, they'll just gloss over stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. What do you guys think, being niched, in this VA space? I am too, clearly, VA loan guy, right? But what are your thoughts about it in how it either helps or hinders or just impacts, your business? I mean, we're in a special area where it probably isn't a hindrance, but what kind of thoughts and things you guys have around, being niched into the military space?
I think we've learned really quickly that you have to be niche in this business. With real estate, I'm sure you guys are aware, like there's 1,000 different avenues that you can go.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times we were just spinning our wheels, trying to do different things that we just didn't niche into. And we're military guys. Why were we not like, niching down to military right from the start?
Right.
And I think, that's what happens to new agents is they get in the industry and they think, oh, look at this person selling a, $1.5 million house, $3 million house. I want to do that. But at the end of the day, maybe that's not your niche. Maybe you're not good at that. Or maybe you shouldn't focus on it. Focus on the core of who you are. It's just like how you ask, can we cuss on this podcast? It's like those are the types of clients that we're looking for. I don't need a suit and tie client because that's just, I got tattoos. That's just not me. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it just came down to like who we wanted to spend our time with and who we wanted to help out. And, I'm sure, the same thing happens with you. You meet another military guy and all of a sudden you guys feel like you've been friends for years.
Totally. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you just have a connection, like, and that makes me want to go to work every day. Is like working with people that are on my level, working with people that, I know I can actually help and that want to be helped because they want to, work with another military person.
Right. Yeah, no, my sentiments are similar, right? I've been doing mortgages for, I don't know, about 10 years before I moved down to San Diego and then, decided to kind of start niching myself into the VA space, which I didn't go as heavy into till about 2.5, 3 years ago as I am now. But yeah, same kind of thing. I was getting to the point where I kind of hit burnout a little because I went through the recession and the crash and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like, there was a tough ordeal. So coming out the other side of that, I was like, all right, here we go. Right. And I just wasn't feeling like fulfilled. Right. Yep. And I was just kind of doing random shot, a little of everything. And I mean, I still do all the different types of loans, but my focus and my efforts towards marketing, right, which is attracting your client base, is in that veteran niche. And it's what drives fulfillment for me in, like you said, like going to work every day, because now I know that I'm making a difference and an impact, right? Because I know, and I run across it all the time, like doing a cross qual or whatever, that there's a gazillion lenders out there, and all of them can click the bubble for a VA loan in their computer.
Exactly.
But there's nuances to that loan. It's not rocket science, but I equate it to like working out, right? Like if you haven't been in the gym in 3 years and you're like, yep, I'm going to the gym today and I'm going to squat 900 pounds and you do it, like you are going to pay, right? Like you're not going to the gym for a while after that because you're just way out of shape, right? That you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And kind of the same thing with like VA. Like oftentimes I think they get lucky and it just happens.
Yeah.
But in the instance where you run into like a little bit of a curveball in the deal, then you see like their true knowledge on it and things start to unwind and fall apart and get really nasty really fast. And they're just not practiced. That doesn't mean they're not good loan people, right?
Sure.
Yeah. They might just be amazing at other types of loans. And that's just one they kind of picked up. And I think same goes for everybody in any specialty, right? But yeah, I agree with you guys on kind of the why behind it, right? And just being able to serve. And I noticed too, like in the realtor community, there's so many real estate agents who really don't know much about the VA loan.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, in San Diego, there's a better knowledge base because we're surrounded by so much
many
military,
bases,
right?
Yeah.
You would hope so, but I mean, it's actually worse than you would think it is.
It is, yeah. I mean, I'm licensed in 20 states, so I do business in a lot of other places. So I run into a lot lower VA IQ than we see here. So when I get like a San Diego deal, I'm like, oh, they probably know about VA. I don't have to spend an hour educating them, right?
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, that was another thrust for me, was just like being able to help kind of spread that knowledge, because we can't control where every military person goes for their services, right? Sure. But at the least we can do is just help spread the good word about the VA loan and the knowledge and all that stuff, to others. And hopefully, that next military person, if they pick someone who's not familiar with it, at least they have a little bit of knowledge and they don't like mess it up for the military person, right?
Exactly.
I mean, the biggest thing we run into on our deals with our clients is that we're having to educate the realtor on the other side.
Yeah.
Typically, because they don't have any idea about the VA loan. A lot of them think that a VA loan, it has more stringent restrictions when it really doesn't. Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is they just want the house to be safe for somebody to live in. Like,
that's not a tall order, right?
Is the house livable? Yes. Cool. We're good to go.
Yeah.
We're not going to have any issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you hear about the VA appraisal. It scares everyone, and it's like, what? Because because the VA wants to guarantee their investment, that's a problem. Like,
Yeah.
and people literally shy away from VA deals, like other realtors. And it's like, well, you're not educated at all. If anything, it's probably stronger than your, conventional 3% down with, $3,000 EMD.
Oh, 100%.
Exactly.
Well, I hear the same thing on the VA appraisal all the time. And what's a shocker to them is that the guy or the gal who's going out as the appraiser, they also are the same guy or gal who does the FHA appraisal or the conventional appraisal.
Exactly.
Same person, same human being.
Exactly.
Right? They just have a little designation, just like an agent can get the MRP designation. They got this VA designation, right? It's the same dude, right? So they're going out there looking at the same stuff. The VA just requires like a couple extra glances at different stuff.
Yeah.
But the really cool part on the VA side of it,
For sure.
that you don't have with the other loans, is you have two opportunities to get value where you need it, which is important in our environment that we're in now with this crazy seller's market, right? So at the VA, you have the Tidewater initiative, right? So if the appraiser's working on this thing, for people that don't know, and they're going, okay, sales price is here, and scratching their head like, I don't know how I'm going to get there with the appraisal. They enact what they call Tidewater, right? Which gives both sides, selling side and buyer side, like a 48-hour window to supply them with some additional comps, information, whatever, to help him or her get the value where we need it.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, then the other option that we have, and the veteran has to initiate it technically, but we basically do it for him, but is the reconsideration of value. So this is, a lot of people would coin this as like an appraisal challenge. And it's not in that sense, right? Like if you have a conventional deal and the appraisal doesn't come in and you're like, oh, we're going to challenge that appraisal. The path that you go through on a conventional challenge the appraisal is you're going straight to the appraiser and going, hey, dude, I don't think you did a good job.
Yeah.
And here's why I don't think you did a good job. And that goes right back to the appraiser going, oh, now you're going to critique my work, Mr. Expert. I don't see you with an appraisal license, right? Oh, no.
Yeah.
And so that's dead on arrival, right?
Yeah.
But with the VA reconsideration of value, the appraiser's not in the loop. It goes to the VA.
Nice.
And the VA has a staff person that was an appraiser. And we request, here's the amount we're requesting. We supply the info, everything else. And, as long as we're not shooting the moon,
Exactly.
the chances are pretty likely, as long as there's some good comprehensive sense behind it, that you're going to get it. Right. So it's actually safer. And I don't think many realtors even understand that process or know that it exists. But if they did, I think they might be like, oh, they're going 10 grand over asking. I got a better shot with the VA deal than I do this conventional or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, most agents think that once you get that first VA appraisal, it's done. Can't change it at all.
Right.
So yeah, that information, right there alone is where you can just, have an advantage over other agents and show your true value, that you're actually like, what's behind it, not just, zero down. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting. So I teach a class for realtor education credits, right? So we get some cool stats. And they put together some stats comparing like the VA loan to the other loan types, conventional and FHA, right? Those are the main three. And the classification of the borrower. So the VA loan borrower more often than not has higher credit score, higher household income, and a higher level of education than conventional loans, which are in second place out of the three. And then FHA comes in third place. And the other thing that's really kind of an eye-opener is the performance of the loans, like after they've closed and they've been paying on the loans for a while. The VA is the highest performing loan in all the portfolios, which is kind of like counterintuitive in a sense, right? Because a lot of people think like zero down, ooh, you're probably a crappy borrower, right? You don't have 100 grand to put down. What's the matter with you? Like they kind of look at you through these like stained glasses, right? But they actually pay their mortgage more than all the other ones. The conventionals, FHAs go into default more regularly, and they had zero down. And the VA is guaranteeing the loan, right? The other ones might have insurance or whatever, which is insurance, right? And we know how that goes. But yeah, it's interesting, right? Like there's, when you start like unpeeling the onion on this and getting back on the layers, all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is like a really, really cool tool, right?
For sure.
That's where we get frustrated when people don't use it. It's like, are you serious? This could change your life. You know, we've done seminars with service members where we just calculated their BH for 10 years and, just said, what if you had all that money in a house? And it just blows people away. They're just like, wow, that's, hundreds of thousands of dollars that I'm, renting with or filling other people's pockets with, when I have this amazing loan that can just get me right into a house and set our, your family up for success in the future.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're singing on the same sheet of music. I think, anybody who's in the military, as soon as they're eligible, should buy a house.
Yeah,
Sure.
100%.
And everywhere they PCS,
Exactly.
buy a house.
Exactly.
I should have done it while I was in, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, everyone who didn't looks back and goes, oh, what a bonehead move that was, right?
Exactly.
But when you're in it, no one's helping guide you.
Exactly.
Right. So you're just kind of going through, living in the barracks, doing your thing, renting an apartment,
Exactly.
and then you get out and then 15 years go by and you're like, oh,
yeah,
I could have like multiple six figures in the bank now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
whoops.
nobody teaches them about it.
Right.
Nobody knows about it while you're actually active duty, because nobody actually uses it while they're active duty. They think you have to wait until you get out
Yeah.
to actually use it.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest stigma, is that people think, oh, well, I'm active duty. I can't use this yet. I have to wait until I get out to get back home to use it. Now, for me, my case, I was overseas the whole time, so I couldn't use
didn't
it.
have a chance,
I wasn't married, so I couldn't send my wife back to go live in the house to get the occupancy, of the
Right.
property. But, if you have, family and somebody's going to be living in the house or something, do it. Go buy a house stateside,
Heck yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, worst case is you rent it out, before you go to your next duty station. Make some money off of it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. 100%. Turn it into a rental. I mean, you think about it, like if you did a 20-year career, which not everybody does, but if you did a 20-year career and let's say you PCS like 5 times
Yeah.
in that career, if you bought a house 4 out of the 5 times at each of the places you went, by the time you get out, your first house is going to be heavily paid down.
For sure.
So you're going to have a really big equity position in that. House number 2, and they kind of shrink as you get to the most recent house.
Yeah.
But if you get them successfally rented as you've moved out of them, and then, say you retire from the military and you move on to whatever the civilian gig is that you're going to do, which you probably got another 20 years of working ahead of you still,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
So if you left those properties alone till they got paid off, finished your second career, now you got 2 retirements, right?
Exactly.
Probably a disability rating after 20 years in the military.
sure.
Yeah.
So just the 3 of those combined, you're probably doing all right. Throw in the rental income on top of that, and hopefully you did your TSP, maybe your 401k at the civilian job, right? And oh, by the way, you've got 4 or 5 houses that
Exactly,
are
yeah.
paid off
With all that equity.
with all that equity. So you
Yeah.
probably got a couple million just chilling there. Like, doesn't sound so bad, does it?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Not too
You
bad
know,
at
might
all.
have to sacrifice on getting the Camaro, but I mean,
Hey, why
for
did
a couple.
he mention Camaro?
I
I
know.
actually have a Camaro.
Don't
I did
worry,
just
his
buy a
loan is only at 19.9%.
Oh, you got
no, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
dude, I got a deal.
Well, cool. So tell us guys a little bit, so our audience, can reach out to you guys if they're looking for, real estate advice or, some education on real estate. What's the best way for them to connect with you guys and just talk real talk?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Well, so we have a website. Our website is topflightveteransrealty.com. We also have a Facebook. Facebook is Top Flight Veterans Realty. So you guys can look us up on either one of those.
Instagram.
Instagram.
Just started. It's a little bare, but
Yeah. If you look up
They're getting there. They just heard of it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It's Instagram, right?
We
Instagram.
just started an Instagram. We're a little late on the actual business Instagram. We have
Yeah.
separate ones.
I'm just kidding. Well, cool. And yeah, and if anybody, any of our audience is, watching or listening, I can attest. I work with a lot of real estate agents in the San Diego area. So if you're looking in, if you're getting stationed anywhere here or Temecula, Riverside areas, maybe a place where you're looking to, these guys are top-notch class acts, and they know what they're doing, people you can really trust. So I highly encourage you to reach out, have a sit down with them, and they'll help guide you. They understand all this stuff. They've been in your shoes, and they'll take amazing care of you. So, gents, thanks so much for sharing your story with us and serving the veteran community the way that you do.
Yeah,
Thank you as
awesome.
well.
Thank you
Appreciate
for having
Jason.
us.
Yeah.
Thank you
One-
for serving the community as well. I mean, honestly, on your side, I see all the good stuff you're doing for the veterans, and it's something to applaud.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah. I was just going to throw in one last quick thing that people don't know. On our website, it does show that we give 10% of our earnings up to $1,000 back to veterans. So along with what we were talking about earlier about those extra bills and stuff, we know the struggle of serving. And we just want to try to help out and get you into that house as seamless and easy as possible. And we hope that kind of helps. So just keep that in mind.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. I mean, like, because you have the logistics of moving, right? Which can have its stresses and it can have delays and added fees and all that stuff. So that's super helpful.
Yeah, it helps so much. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing that, you guys. And thanks again for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you have any questions about the guests on the show, please reach out to me at valoanguy.us.